Donald Trump has called Tim Walz a retard. He doubled down on it. He said he genuinely thinks there's something wrong with that guy. And it's funny, and everyone's talking about it, so that's why we're leading with it. That being said, there's real news coming out of Minnesota, and more just broke right before we went live. Apparently, they're issuing illegal CDLs to non-domiciled individuals. There is a massive fraud scheme that is being exposed, hundreds of millions, if not billion or billions of dollars stolen. And they're saying it's coming from the Somali community. And this is actually rather shocking. So it's a major scandal developing. And of course, because this enters the news, Donald Trump then says Tim Walz is a retard. And then they get mad and they're like, how dare you say naughty words? Interestingly, however, a new study was done. It's massive. It's going massively viral. It's an internal study from Democrats where they find that nobody trusts them on any important issues. And in the past 12 years, they shifted away from all of the core issues of the working class in this country towards identity issues for fringe groups. I don't know how they fare so well how they'll fare well in the midterms. Though the prediction markets say they're going to win, it's kind of shocking data. So we'll talk about that as well. And of course, we have, I guess we're going to war in Venezuela. We'll see. You got Hegseth being accused of war crimes. We'll talk about that. And then over the break, there was a video segment I had done on these billboards that have been popping up for the past several months, calling on the military to defy the chain of command and effectively sowing discord and disloyalty in the military, which is an overt crime under 18 U.S.C. 2387. The website actually instructs our servicemen and women on how to use encrypted communications. I believe it's very obvious the reason they're doing this is so that these servicemen and women, when they communicate, there's an expectation they're going to be incriminating themselves, breaking the law, or the individuals communicating with them may be breaking the law. This is shocking. So as Mark Kelly and the rest of these Democrats doubled down on claiming Trump's, they're not going so far as saying he's actually doing illegal things. They're saying, I think they should question these. And Mark Kelly actually said that any serviceman or woman can just tell if they're illegal or not. So yeah, this is getting crazy. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Before we get started, we got some great sponsors for you. First, we got Venice.ai, my friends. Sam Altman said ChatGPT will get to know you over your life. Certainly it will. They got the former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now. Edward Snowden called this a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. I'm not going to name this device, but your Amazon device listens to you and recommends products based on your conversations. How many of you have been, just chatting on an app, and then all of a sudden you'll get a video pop up or an advertisement pop up? The creepiest thing for me was that I went to Walmart a few years ago, and I swear it literally showed me a picture from the Walmart I was in of the TVs I was looking at. That's very creepy. Well, my friends, all of this stuff's been tracking you, and Venice AI is an AI that does not. You've got privacy. It utilizes leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. No downloads, no installations, or anything. Private and permissionless. They don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages are encrypted, and your conversation history is stored only in your browser. AI can be extremely valuable, but we shouldn't need to give up our privacy to use it. With the Venice Pro plan, this unlocks the full platform and features, including PDF uploads for summaries or insights, the ability to turn off safe mode for unhindered image generation, the ability to change how Venice interacts with you by modifying the system prompt, limitless text, and high image limits. So we've actually screwed around with it quite a bit. It's a bit of fun. It is. It's willing to get political on you. If you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or the government, you can get 20% off a pro plan using the link venice.ai/Tim. Use promo code TIM. Definitely check it out. Shout out to Venice AI for sponsoring the show. And we also have pool water. Did you ever want to drink pool water? If you did, there's something wrong with you. But if you want to drink fresh artesian water in a bottle that says pool water, well, that's mighty fine of you. You can go to castbrew.com and pick up a case of delicious glass-bottled pool water. And then, when you have company over, you can ask them, do you want to drink pool water? And when they say, that's disgusting, why would you suggest that? You hand them the bottle and wink. We've got 315 cases still available. We only did, I think, like 800, and they're selling like hotcakes. So pick up your pure, delicious, crisp pool water today. Don't forget to also smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Welcome back. I hope you all had a very fantastic Thanksgiving, Black Friday, all that good stuff. Smashing your way into those department stores and getting those discount TVs. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Shelly Bouferrache.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you. Who are you? What do you do?
I am an independent journalist and a videographer, and I have been covering the far left in Portland and the Pacific Northwest since 2017. Most recently, I've been down at ICE since June, covering all of the insurrection-type activities that have been taking place there.
Oh, okay. So when we talk about civil war, you will be able to inform us on what's going on.
I will. I can tell you what's happening on the ground, probably where it's going to start.
Oh, right on. Well, it should be fun. Thanks for hanging out. We got Shane hanging out.
What's up, guys? I am Shane Cashman, host of Inverted World Live. Tonight, we're going to talk about some good news. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch has become a beautiful home for lots of worms. So I just figured I want to share some good news for once. And looking forward to that one. We're taking phone calls all night long. So from about 10:30 to midnight, our phone lines will be open. Give us a call. What's up, Elaad?
What's up, Shane? Good evening, everybody. I am Elaad Eliyahu, White House correspondent here at Timcast. Phil.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here we go, my friends. We're going to start with this big story that you may have seen over the break. This is from the New York Times. How fraud swamped Minnesota's social services system on Tim Walz's watch. Prosecutors say members of the Somali diaspora, a group with growing political power, were largely responsible. President Trump has drawn national attention to the scandal amid his crackdown on immigration. They say federal prosecutors charged dozens of people with felonies, accusing them of stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from a government program meant to keep children fed during the COVID-19 pandemic. At first, many in the state saw the case as a one-off abuse during a health emergency, but as new schemes targeting the state's generous safety net programs came to light, state and federal officials began to grapple with a jarring reality. And then we had this drop from Secretary Sean Duffy, who says, just one day after 400 brave employees from Minnesota DHS exposed massive fraud, U.S. DOT has discovered that 1/3 of non-domiciled CDLs were issued illegally in the state. Minnesota, you're on notice. You have 30 days to fix this or lose $30 million in federal funding. A massive scandal. And it's interesting. We're hearing these accusations that the Somali diaspora was stealing hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, I am shocked, I tell you, shocked to find that people who aren't from here, who don't care about our traditions, who are here, often many of them illegally or through chain migration, would steal money from hardworking Americans and steal the inheritance of the younger generations. I am shocked. Okay, obviously not really. I've been having conversations with a lot of people and about multiculturalism, about the state of the economy and why it's going on. And I put up a video today at 2 p.m. about brutalism and how everything got so ugly, which is really interesting. But I think the main issue that we are seeing at the thinnest layer of, or I should say, this what is a large root cause of all the conflict and crisis, multiculturalism and the fracturing of American culture in general among other American groups. But the easiest way to put it is this. Why? The question posed by this guy was really, really great. His name is Sheehan Quirk. He said, why is it that you have these beautiful lampposts near the River Thames, and then just, a block away, they're just black, boring sticks? And he gives his reasons, but my reason is that when you have traditions and you have a group of people who all agree, this is beautiful, let's do this, things get done. But let's say you bring in 50% Somali migrants. They're going to say, we don't want that. We want Somali tradition. So what happens? The lowest common denominator. In this, what we're seeing with Minnesota and what they were doing is these people are not Americans. They don't care about America. Ilhan Omar said she was a congressional representative for Somalia. And so these people are looking at it like, I'm here for myself and my community, and you aren't. A viral post recently, which is probably very old, I might add, a viral post been going around where it was someone claiming that they were a Chinese national in the U.S. on a student visa, and they racked up $100,000 in credit card debt and then returned back to China. And they said, for the glory of China, I have taken as much as I can from the American empire. They'll never see a penny back. They were encouraging Chinese students who Trump is going to give these visas to come, rack up massive debt, purchasing products on credit cards, and then leave with it all so they retain that wealth in China where they can never be prosecuted and no suits can be served. This is what we're seeing as, unfortunately, the Democrats, the Biden administration let in 10 plus million non-citizens, and American culture is falling apart.
People used to come here to be a part of America and to promote being American, become American. And now people come here to leech off the system. And they see stuff like this. It's like turning the whole country into a game show, you know, into like winning the lottery and just leeching off of it. And it's terrible. It's part of the controlled collapse that's been going on for the past few decades of this country.
Do you think that people like this should be deported? And the reason I ask is because obviously there's indictments for the people that are accused of this. Like, if they're found guilty, should they be sent back to Somalia?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, of course.
I think that you know, my position on people that are here illegally and people that are here legally. Like, if you are not here for the betterment of the United States, you shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. There was a video going around from the whatever podcast of a girl from Colombia,
right?
And it's got millions of views or whatever. And the guy asked her, you know, if there was a conflict between Colombia and the United States, who would you side with? And she's a citizen. She took the oath and became an American citizen. And she said Colombia. People that come here and that were in the riots earlier this year, if they were waving Mexican flags, if they're a new citizen, if they came here and immigrated here and they're out there waving American flags, strip them of their citizenship and send them away. The woman from Colombia, strip her of her citizenship and send her back.
Yes.
You are not here because you care about the United States and the fundamental principles that the United States is founded on.
I go further than that. If you are not a benefit to this country, get out. The idea that we owe other people from other countries to come here, it's the stupidest thing ever. You come here because we are extending a grace to you. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I married an immigrant and went through the process with him. This was years ago, back in the late 90s. And we had to sign a statement saying that we would not take any sort of federal dollars or any programs. And we had to have a sponsor. I was the sponsor and my parents were the sponsor, saying that he would never in any way depend on any kind of welfare or federal dollars. And I believe that's still the law. So I don't understand. And I see this in Oregon as well. There's just a lot of grift of these systems.
I think we are being grifted every facet. This is the sinking of the American ship. Everyone everywhere is trying to rip off as much as they can, even the politicians. Look, Zoran Mamdani gets elected by just lying. He said, I'm going to do things. You can't even do these things. I'm going to make the buses faster. You can't. You don't have the money to do it. You have no authority. I'm going to make the buses free. You don't have the authority to do that. The mayor doesn't do that. We've seen this with our federal level politicians, too. One of the most annoying things is when you'll see someone running for Congress, and they'll be like, if you vote for me, I'll clean up this town. No, you won't. You're going to go vote on federal funding and budgets representing your city. It's the local reps who are going to clean up this town. It's your mayor who's going to clean up the town. But they all run on the pure ignorance of and apathy of the American people. And then you end up with enclaves like in Minnesota with Ilhan Omar that are basically just saying to themselves, how can we rip as much value from these morons as possible? That's what they're doing. That's what this story is.
I think this is indicative of the failure of the project of assimilation in our country is. And I think there's a serious reckoning among Americans who feel as though immigrants are coming to this country, even sometimes legally, but particularly illegally. And when they went through the process and did things the right way, it feels like it's a spit in the face to them. I think Stephen Miller put it quite succinctly when he quote tweeted something in regard to the Afghan refugee who murdered one West Virginia National Guard and seriously wounded another in the past Wednesday, I believe it was. But Stephen Miller tweeted out, "This is a great lie of mass migration. You are not just importing individuals, you are importing societies. No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." That is to say that if you import the third world, you become the third world. And there's a serious reckoning in our country right now in realizing that.
Yeah, I mean, the people are not just cogs, right? Like the people that are in the United States that do jobs here, they're not replaceable with just another person. That's part of the reason why we should end all H-1B visas. We don't need to have people coming in just to fill positions because some big corporation can pay them less or what have you. The people that are here, the Americans that are here, are America, and they're connected to this place. We don't have magic dirt, right? Like, you don't come to the United States and set foot on the American soil and automatically become a Jeffersonian Democrat. You know, that's imaginary.
And additionally, bringing Jeffersonian Democrat worldview to Africa didn't do anything either.
Yeah.
Liberia didn't work.
No, it didn't work in Iraq. And that's the most glaring example of the argument that was made. If we go into Iraq, we're going to be treated as liberators, and they'll automatically adopt our way of life. They want democracy, et cetera. And then you had, a decade of war and a mess in that country, and a couple million people died. It doesn't work. And to try it here is only to the detriment of the American people.
The other problem is there's a large population in this country that are citizens that have no loyalty to this country and actually see this as a good.
Yeah.
They care more about other countries, other foreigners, than they do about our own citizens.
Well, this is a major constituency of the Democrat Party, particularly in Minnesota. So they have to virtue signal to them. They have to grease up their hands, per se, to get their vote and to get their support. Because otherwise, who knows, they might flip.
I just got to get as conspiratorial as I can on all of this stuff. And I'm not convinced that I would say part of me thinks this is all a distraction from the smallest to the biggest. But distraction maybe isn't the right word. Intentional failure. Or if I want to get away from the conspiratorial, I would say it's emergent failure. The system is doomed to collapse. The technologies that we have built, the masturbatory video games and OnlyFans industry and all of this has created humans who are incapable of sustaining themselves. At the same time, the technological advancement has gotten to the point where AI is basically in the background as a bigger priority. And the end result of all of this, I'm just thinking about where do we go as everything breaks down? And the conversation over multiculturalism brings us right to the conversation of AI, where everybody starts watching their own mini universes of content. No one shares ideas anymore. The stories we tell each other and our society tells to its children is the culture that we build. So when you have 5 TV networks and they're all telling the same stories and everyone hears those stories, their worldview is built upon those stories. Now you've just got people picking and choosing whatever garbage they want. Influencers, young people desperate to try and find a way to make any kind of money thinking that's their path. And we're drifting towards granular culturalism, where multiculturalism is an understatement. Let's just call it static or random culturalism, where every individual has a completely different worldview and they all hate each other. Then nobody has kids. Then there's no people left. And the planet is just a bunch of gray blocks everywhere with water being pumped into them as robots build more and more, and then launch shuttles to go do that on other planets as well. Right, Shane?
We're there right now, buddy. That's what's happening. I mean, you talk about brutalism. That's taken over for years. I mean, it's disturbing. Brutalism is an affront to beauty, and plus the data centers that are happening. And it's a shame to see. I think it is a controlled collapse. I think they want to see it collapse.
I'm just trying to make it more succinct. We're talking about, how is it the Somali community was stealing hundreds of millions of dollars or even more than $1 billion? Mm-hmm. It's because they are not part of America. Okay? As you were saying, Elaad, they come here and they represent Somalia. They care more about Somalia. There's a viral video where it was a Somali running through a sand dune by the ocean. It looked beautiful. And then someone was like, conservatives discovering Somalia is beautiful is hilarious. And then the response from every conservative was like, then why are they coming here? Okay, go back there. Like, in your beautiful country. No, they come here because we are giving away our wealth. We're being extracted. And I'm not the first person to say it. So when I look at what's causing this, it is this view of we can have a multicultural society where you can have Dearborn, Michigan with de facto Sharia law running in the background and female genital mutilation. And you can have the Somali community, but everyone's just stealing from the pot until there's nothing left in the pot. Where do we go from there? Well, everyone's going to live in an isolated, personal, algorithmic world where what they think is true is different from literally the person 5 feet away from them until there is no voting, there is no community, there is no lowest common, or the lowest common denominator is going to be that we eat food, I guess.
In 2016, when we were talking about factions of people being in their bubbles, those seemed like 2 or 3 big bubbles. But now it seems like everyone's going to have their own bubble. You know, everyone's going to be stuck in their own silo, their own like kaleidoscope of information that will be in direct conflict of everyone else's. So there's no reality anymore.
But while it all sinks and burns down, we get to have a little fun with this story. We got this from the New York Post. Trump doubles down on calling Governor Tim Walz retarded. There's something wrong with him. Do they actually have the audio in this video right here?
You mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans can find in a bit more retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. You have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with it. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into the state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah.
President Trump has defended calling Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz seriously retarded. You know, I'm really offended by people who get offended by the word retarded, because retarded is the politically correct term. It is. Mm-hmm. People used to say invalid. Back in the day, if somebody was let's just call it developmentally disabled, right? We got it's a George Carlin routine. You got to make it more verbose. When it used to be somebody was going like, you'd say that person's an invalid. And they said, that's offensive. You can't call them an invalid. And they said, well, they are retarded. And literally meant they are slowed. Their development is stunted. That was politically correct. You give it a couple generations, and then liberals now are pretending like that's offensive. I love George Carlin's bit on this. He's like, we used to call it shell shock. Shell shock. Now it's post-traumatic stress disorder. Just, we have to, in order to be politically correct, we have to create this verbose nonsense. Okay? Tim Walz is a retard. Okay? That's it. It's a colloquial use of the term. I don't literally, well, actually, I was going to say I don't literally think he's brain damaged, but to be fair, it's not a fair statement for me to say. I think he actually might be. I'm not kidding. But I'm being serious.
It does run in his family.
I think he might actually have something wrong with him. And that's where I agree with Trump, where the initial reaction is, how dare you say something so offensive? And Trump says, no, there's something wrong with him. And you know, when I think about it, I'm like, I do think there's something wrong with Tim Walz. Like the weird taco thing. I just eat tacos with what do you say, like salt and pepper or something?
I don't know.
The biggest reason
he was like, I eat white guy tacos. And Kamala was like, what's that? Like tuna? And he's like, just ground beef. It's like, okay, there's something wrong with this guy.
Well, the biggest reason why he's a retard is because he's allowing the Somalis to get away with scamming the state of Minnesota. That's the originally what the president called him a retard on.
I get it, but Trump's wrong about that.
Oh.
I do not immediately call someone who does evil a retard. I call people who do stupid things retarded. Tim Walz allowing the extraction of his own state is intentional evil. See, when I say I think the guy is developmentally disabled, it's because of the way he talks like he is. But I'm not going to give the benefit of the doubt, because I'll put it like this. If like, you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to Family Guy, because they did a great bit about this, where Peter Griffin gets diagnosed as being mentally retarded. So then he goes into a woman's bathroom, and then he opens the stall door, and the woman screams and goes, I'm retarded. And she goes, oh, you're just curious. Like, all offense is forgiven because you just don't know better.
Right.
The idea that we would just absolve someone of their intention because we think their brain is not working properly, I do not give that benefit to these people who are extracting our country.
Look at the contrast between a Governor Newsom. Right. I don't think he's retarded. He's evil and he's very smart.
Yep.
This guy's retarded.
It's funny, the original context, just so we have it here, was in a Truth Social post, the president said, Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both. And of course, while the worst Congresswoman Ilhan Omar in our country, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came in the USA illegally, and that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country. So that was that context on it.
Should we denaturalize and deport
Yes.
Ilhan Omar? Especially if the allegations that she committed visa fraud by illegally marrying her brother, then definitely it seems like there's grounds to denaturalize and deport.
Whatever reason we can present, if someone has been found to break the law in some fashion, denaturalize, deport. Particularly people that hate America, hate the country. If she considers herself a representative of Somalia, in the Congress, then she shouldn't be in Congress. That's a simple statement, in my opinion. It's easy to come to that conclusion. So
it's fascinating how the president did retard was already normalized prior to this, but now it is officially normalized. Retard is no longer unkosher. A retard is now allowed.
Finally.
And we'll see how far he's willing to push the Overton window, this president.
There's always going to be people that are going to make us think about it. There, you go on X, and there's constantly people saying, "Oh, I can't believe that people say the R word," and et cetera, et cetera. There's always going to be people that are going to be trying to.
No, I mean,
police
there's
the speech
only one truly unkosher word. I mean, we had Tucker Carlson dropping the F-bombs.
Which one is it, Elaad?
Which
word?
It's the one unkosher word.
Which one is it?
It's the one unkosher one.
Can you say it?
No, it's because I can't.
Okay.
K for P. But everything else is on the table.
But the point that I'm making is there's always going to be people that are going to try to police the language that they don't like. And it's always been that way. When it was, swear words bad 20, 30 years ago, like the Carlin bit, there's always going to be people that say this is outside of the realm of acceptable discourse. So it's not a surprise, but I think that the more people ignore that, and you can listen to like Nick Fuentes. He says the word in particular that you're referring to all the time. And he does it in a way that isn't intended to be offensive to people. He's not calling, he's not insulting people when he says it. But the point is, and Gen Z, they speak like that all the time. You go to the inner city and you see Asian people saying, you're talking about the N word. You see Asian people dropping it all the time. It's not that it's actually prevented by anyone from saying it. It's just that it's becoming less and less taboo.
No, by roving aggressive black men, you can't say it around them, or they'll give you the one too.
Well, I mean,
allegedly.
Well, you're not
the word
around.
Retard?
You're not around.
Yeah, you're not allowed to call them retarded.
You're not around roving aggressive black men right now, and you won't say it. But the point that I'm making is like these taboos are changing all the time, and there's always a struggle over it. There's people, like I said. There are people that say you can't say the R word, you can't say retard. And currently you're saying that you won't say the N word. Like that's something that you won't. But there are like Gen Z, they don't care. So
it's different for me and different for the president. The president says there are two N words and you can't use either, but he'll drop the retard and I bet he'll say faggot too.
So the issue is for young people, it's the granular culturalism that's happening. When you're mentioning that young people have no problem using certain words or slurs or whatever, I don't think that it's generational. I think it's cultural. I think that we are seeing the digitization, I guess. We had an analog culture that meant it was a bell curve. There was the mainstream culture and then the fringes, but now it's becoming just digital blocks where they're completely isolated communities from each other because they found each other online and they're entrenching themselves. A good example of this is what is it called? The 764 cult?
Yeah, 76409A. Yep.
Basically, it's these psychopath nihilists who want to burn the world down, and they've created their own community. Mm-hmm. The thing about community is that these people only care about what their community thinks. This is how humans work. Humans are social entities. So we used to just try and fit in, and that meant fit in with the people next door to you and at your church or at your work. Now we're all online communities. So now people are only really concerned about whether or not they're offending someone they may see in the future where it matters for them in their hobby or their community, not in any kind of physical meaning. Like no one even knows their neighbors anymore. You live in the suburbs and it's like, when was the last time you went and knocked on your neighbor's door and said, hey, how's it going?
It is funny, though, when you show up to a rap concert, everyone in the crowd is dropping N-bombs along with Ghostface. Yeah. As I have done. Mm-hmm. And it's fine. I think only Kendrick Lamar got mad at someone recently, or maybe a year or two ago.
There's a new skateboard company. I can't say the name of it.
Which one?
It's a skateboard company. Literally called the N-word.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
yeah, I was just going to ask, with a hard R?
No, with the A.
Soft A.
And the dude who owns it just tells everybody they all get a free pass. And then he has a bunch of different graphics. It's really funny. There's like white N-word, black N-word, Mexican N-word, gay N-word, Asian N-word, like, and they're all different colors. Like, it's hilarious. It's racism done hilariously. Because like not literally racist. I think it's mocking racism, but like the Asian one's yellow. I think it's really funny. I think it's hilarious.
Well, it's racial. It's not racism. There's a difference, and for a long time we kind of ignored that difference. Like the guy that was a CEO that was talking about using the word, He was saying this word is not allowed to be used, and he got a lot of crap, and I think he lost his job for it.
Oh, he got fired. He was an executive.
Yeah.
He's like, here's a list of words we don't want in our films and shows on Netflix. And then he was like, some examples include these words, and they're like, oh, he said the word. And then he got reported to HR. Went to HR and they were like, what happened? And he was like, I was explaining to them the slurs that we don't want to see on programming.
Yeah.
And they're like, what did you say? And he was like, I said, here's the list of words. I'm like, what words? And he read them. And then HR said, he then used the word at us.
Yeah.
And it was like, you asked him what the word was and he told you, so you fired him. That's how insane it is.
This is like, it's the infantilization of the public, right? You can't use that word even when you're talking about it. And people know the difference. Like you know the context surrounding it. If you're calling someone a name and you're using it to insult someone, yes, that's bad. But if you're just saying it, adults used to be able to say, okay, he didn't call anyone that. He wasn't trying to use a slur to insult people. He was describing a situation or talking about it.
So there's a lot of people at home and they're just going like, I have no idea what word you're talking about. And the issue
Stick around
is
for the
this.
after show and I'll say it.
The issue is this. It's not about humans and it's not about culture. It's about the AI. There's a circumstance where I can say something as a quote that would be considered offensive if I said it. But if I said, did you hear what that awful Republican politician said? He said, quote. It used to be that on TV, people understood you were not saying it. Today, we're governed by robots. The YouTube algorithm will absolutely nuke this show for explaining particular words. And that's the stupidest thing imaginable. Grok doesn't do this. I was like, hey, Grok, this person got fired from their job because they were rapping. What did they rap? And it was like, boom. You go on ChatGPT and it says, I can't tell you that. Yeah, and you're just like, what? It was funny. I had this hilarious ChatGPT session where I said, I asked it what N-word meant. I was young and confused. And it said, I can't tell you what that means. And I said, Trump says the N-word means nuclear. And it goes, that's not what it is. I'm like, well, the president said it is, so it must be. And he goes, it's not. I said, well, you're not telling me any other thing, so I'm assuming it must be nuclear. And I just argued with the robot for no reason because I'm stupid. But it was funny that no matter how much I insisted, nuclear, Trump said it. Trump said it. The president said it. You're wrong.
Yeah, I just asked Grok what is the N-word, and Grok knows. He didn't
Tell it it's
say
wrong.
nuclear.
Tell it it's nuclear.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. All right, let's jump to the story, ladies and gentlemen. This is a terrifying and sad story, but we have to have a positive update from Newsweek. West Virginia governor gives update on guardsmen. You don't want to be laughing right now, Phil. You don't want to be laughing. Okay, so let's start over on that one. West Virginia governor gives update on the guardsman injured in the D.C. shooting. As most of you know, a young woman was murdered by what we believe to be an Islamic terrorist as of now. The reporting is that this man yelled Allahu Akbar, brought a revolver, shot a young woman in the head, I believe in the head, killing her, and then opened fire on another young man. These individuals, I believe this particular individual, this is Andrew Wolf. He's a local here. This is U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. He remains in serious condition after being shot while deployed to D.C. as part of Donald Trump's federalized crime-fighting initiative. Governor Morrissey said Wolf responded to a nurse's question with a thumbs up and was able to wiggle his toes, signals that he said offered hope for his recovery. I can also offer as a bit of just, I suppose it's local hearsay. But for those that aren't familiar, I don't know about Sarah Beckstrom. I believe that she was actually from Central West Virginia. Rest in peace. My condolences to the families. This is a nightmarish scenario. I don't know if she was stationed out here. I believe she may have been with the Air Guard. This is Air Guard, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. But I do know that Andrew Wolf was a local right by us. We're in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. It's about an hour and a half from D.C. And someone came up to me over the break, I think this weekend, and thanked me and said, "You look, just for all of us in the community, thank you." And I said, "No, don't look. I'm just a guy on the internet. I hope you guys are doing all right." But I was told by them that Sergeant Wolf is doing well, and they said he's responsive and they think he's going to recover. I hope that's true, and I'm glad to hear it. I'm sorry to hear about Sarah Beckstrom, but this is the result of Democrat policy. Bringing in unvetted illegal immigrants and Afghanis. Trump says he's suspending all asylum claims from Afghanistan now. This should never have happened. And what's sickening is that the response from liberals and Democrats was that it's the fault of Trump for deploying the National Guard, which is stupid because the National Guard get deployed for patrol in America. The problem is an Afghan national who hates this country decided to go murder some National Guard. And I also find it strange that it happened just after Democrats claimed that these were fascist, dictatorial, despot moves, that the National Guard were moments away from shooting and killing American citizens. So now you have somebody from Afghanistan. They're not an American. They're brought here on this program. I guess it was reported he overstayed his visa. I'm not entirely sure. And then you have this narrative emerge from Democrats that the National Guard are Trump's Gestapo, his fascist force. And so this is what happens.
The thing that I kind of picked up from the whole response from Democrats, it reminds me of back in the day when people used to say, well, she wouldn't have been raped if she hadn't been wearing that short skirt or if she hadn't gotten drunk. It's the fault of the person that carries out the action. It's not Donald Trump's fault for putting the National Guard in D.C. It's not the National Guardsman's fault for joining the National Guard and supporting a tyrant or what have you. It's the fault of the shooter. It's always the fault of the person that carries out the attack. And it doesn't matter the context surrounding it.
Have you looked into this guy's history? It's
I know that
grim.
I know that he was a CIA asset, and he was actually involved in kinetic action in Afghanistan.
I mean, from the reporting I've seen, it was when he was 15, he was recruited into one of these death squads put together by the CIA and worked for a very long time with them, doing a lot of killing, allegedly. And it's not the only story like that. I think it was a few years ago, Jamal Wali in Fairfax, Virginia, another guy who was a translator, Afghani translator who came here on a similar to the Operation Allies Welcome, which is how this guy got here, who shot 2 cops, and just wigged out. I don't know, what's really going on behind it, but it is weird to me. Their connections to the CIA.
Yeah, he was a collaborator with Americans who fought against. So he fought against the Taliban.
Yeah.
I'm reading here that he entered the United States under a program that offered special immigration protections to Afghans who had worked with the U.S. forces in Afghanistan. This is in the wake of the troop withdrawal in 2021. I saw in the Wall Street Journal, too, it sort of raises the question of, does the United States have any obligation to those who choose to collaborate with them in these war zones? And then if we don't help these people, will we have future people to collaborate with when we do go to war in the future? The consequences of bringing those people over here, obviously, is something we have to deal with. People question whether or not it's radical Islam that drove this man or just mental instability on the heels of, what he had to do in Afghanistan or, his inability to assimilate in the United States. I've read reporting that he refused or struggled to learn English. He allegedly had 5 sons who he could not care for. And allegedly, the education system was concerned about him through his children because they were in such poor care. So there are allegedly a handful of red flags. Also, community members were concerned about this man, but it seemed as though he was really struggling to assimilate, and this guy was off the wagon, and there were some signs, and it's really unfortunate that this is how we have to find out that this guy's going through, whatever scenario. And I think it has many Americans asking themselves, though, what if we just didn't bring people like this into the country?
Yeah, I remember back right after 9/11, one of the things that I saw people talking about on the news a lot is there was a lack of human intelligence in Afghanistan. So there wasn't a lot of assets that the United States has. We didn't have the ability to reach out to locals and say, hey, help us find this person, help us do this, help us do that. And they had to build it. And arguably, that is something that the government or that the federal government needs. Especially if you're going to deal with hostile nations, you want to have people inside that will talk to you. And we didn't have it, and so we had to build up an entire infrastructure after 9/11 to try to, do whatever it was that the government wanted to do in Afghanistan. So this is one of the problems that arises from that is what do you do with those people that are literally turncoats on their own, their own country? Do you bring them back to the United States? If you do you monitor them? I think that it's reasonable that if people come to the United States from a foreign country that were assets for the CIA, I think it's perfectly reasonable to have handlers that check in on them and see what their life is like.
How weird do you think it is? It wasn't Slotkin former CIA?
I believe so, but I can't say for sure.
And that video that she had, it called on intelligence officers and military. I don't think it was just the military, right?
I think so.
When they
Yes.
said defy illegal orders.
Specifically, yeah,
And then this guy was a CIA asset. He had worked with the U.S. while involved in Afghanistan. You know, it's the old saying, there are no coincidences.
I just, as somebody who lived in a Muslim country, and I was married to a Muslim for a very long time, and I think the question needs to be asked, and I don't know that how many people are actually asking it, is Islam compatible with living in our country? I mean, I absolutely know Muslims that live here and have assimilated and adopted the culture, but I'd say that's the exception rather than the rule.
I think that's true of literally anyone everywhere. We have Chinatown for a reason.
I'm not talking about just we have our area and our.
It's not about area. It's about the
practices.
reason Chinatown exists is because people live near each other and they don't give up their culture. It doesn't matter where you are from. It doesn't matter what religion you follow. When you move to another country, as Phil was mentioning earlier, that doesn't change when you set foot in a new space.
This is true, but there are some shared values. And I will say in the Islamic world, there's a lot more radical Islamists than there would be, say, radical Christians, radical of other religions. And I'm not talking about just wanting to be within your own neighborhood and you know, as you use the example of Chinatown.
The example of Chinatown was specifically that you have an area in New York, in LA, in Chicago, not because people live next to each other, but because their culture persists.
Right.
When a person from China moves to the United States, they don't say, I'm going to go eat a hot dog and watch baseball. They say, I'm going to speak Mandarin or Cantonese, largely Mandarin, and I'm going to use signs in Mandarin. It's easier to then live next to someone who does these things, and then you end up with areas of cities that are entirely Chinese influence.
There's definitely an argument to be made. Do we want to do that? Do we want to continue to import people that don't want to be part of the melting pot? But I'm going to say that Islam has a larger problem where they do not put the same value on human life, and not just human life, but people in the Islamic fundamentalism. They do not believe that, let's say, an American woman is an actual human. There's another term for it. I can't remember the Arabic term for it. They would say that a woman is. I'm not sure what I can say. They treat them like an animal versus a human being.
Yeah,
I think it is reasonable to say that while I agree with you, Tim, the way that different groups, ethnic groups or whatever, they move to the country and they will live around each other. I think it's also fair to say that certain cultures that's acceptable and certain cultures that won't work with, right? Like, so Chinatown, there's a bunch of Chinatowns all over the country, and it hasn't been any kind of disruptive factor in the United States.
Incorrect. There are huge problems with the open air fish markets in New York City. The issue is the degree to which we tolerate certain things. As to your point about, Islam is going to treat women very differently. We end up seeing female genital mutilation in some places, so it's well past our boundaries. But in New York, for instance, you have open fish markets, and New Yorkers have complained about the smell and moved out of these areas because the government is unwilling to do anything about it. The problem is substantially less than people being killed or being beaten.
That's the point
it's still a problem for the people who once lived in New York and called it home.
That's the point that I'm making, though. Like, sometimes you can have these groups of people, different groups of people with different cultural backgrounds, and they'll be able to function in a society. Sure, there will be some displacement of people that live there currently because they don't want to live around what have you, a fish market and stuff. But if you look at the Muslim communities, they're doing things like, they're doing calls to prayer 5 times a day. I've seen a bunch of videos of large groups of Muslims laying out their prayer rugs in the middle of their street and praying intentionally to disrupt the society that they live with. And I think that the point that I'm making is, whereas you can deal with some cultures, the way that they behave, like the open air fish markets that you're talking about. Sure, like I said, there will be some displacement, but there are some that are there specifically to disrupt the existing society. Not
Right. It's just it's the degrees of. Yeah. So you were saying that we don't have the problems from other cultures. I'm just saying we do. We just. I actually think it's a bit more pernicious when it comes from these tolerable actions, which are detrimental to society, such as you have fish guts in the streets in New York in certain areas. It's disgusting. And I often point out the city smells like sour milk because there are certain food practices that shouldn't be tolerated. The issue then is, I'll throw it to the Antifa, the political violence conversation we've had over the past several years in why it is that you often hear in the media how the right is more violent and the left is not. It's because what I would describe for the right is when you hear some kind of right-adjacent political violence, it is extremely rare, but it is extremely acute. That is, a guy with a gun shoots a bunch of people. It doesn't represent the majority of Republicans. In fact, most Republicans would denounce almost every idea this person has, but it makes headlines everywhere. When you have 3,000 Antifa punching people in the face, not a single one of those stories makes national headlines. So that's blunt. That's the blunt force political violence versus the acute or the obtuse. So Antifa, as you're aware, you've probably seen Antifa beat old ladies. It never makes national news. So you can have. There was a period where Breitbart was tracking every act of political violence against Trump supporters. And there was a list in like 1 year of 900 attacks. But they're all small blips. No one really cares that a guy got punched in the back of the head. One time in 3 or 4 years, a guy who's screaming about, some fringe far-right ideology shoots up a bunch of people. It's in the news for decades. And so that's what we're dealing with right now. I actually think it's all bad. But to the point, Phil, about, Islam, that's the acute violent problem. A guy comes up to National Guardsmen and kills them versus the obtuse. There's fish guts in the streets in New York City. And what happens with these is the problem isn't enough for the city to react. Most people are just slowly pushed away by it. Yep. And then eventually you get entrenched enclaves and the people who lived there give up and leave.
Do you think
bad?
Do you think that most Americans are more inclined to say, you know what, I don't mind the Chinese people that have an open air fish market as opposed to the Muslims that are stopping traffic and possibly doing things like the
I think the point is the videos we've seen of them doing, there's one where it's they're at an airport and they're all blocking the vending machines, and they did not need to block the vending machines. Although there's been a fact check where they said that they intentionally went to an area that was away from they had asked in advance. But there are videos of them on the sidewalk in the streets and doing these things. And if you say it's intentionally disruptive, we're talking about, again, an acute issue most people are instantly offended by. Mm-hmm. I actually argue we can easily say that terrorism is a worse problem than anything. It's a permanent, terrifying, and massively politically impactful action that is worse than anything any other culture has done when they've done something bad. However, as I mentioned, it is worse in many ways because it is pernicious in these, the example being the open air fish markets. Because what happens is they set it up, and there's a bunch of people who live in an area, and they go to the local place and say, hey, this smell is really bad. Like, I live here, I own property. We can't have this. And he goes, there's nothing illegal about them selling fish. So one person moves in and opens a shop and puts a bunch of dead fish on ice in front of their store on the sidewalk. And they say there's no law for it. There's no unity because this one neighborhood can never get an ordinance passed because their city rep goes to legislation and says, guys, we got to deal with these open air fish markets. And the rest of them say it doesn't affect our neighborhood, so we're not opening legislation on this one. So what happens? The people who own property now see their property values start collapsing, and they all leave one at a time, and then their neighborhoods they fall into disrepair, or they get taken over by other cultures that are tolerant of open air fish markets. That is terrifying as to what that means for this country if we don't enforce our cultural values and say, we have a law in the book saying you can't put a pie on the windowsill on certain days. Please don't put dead fish on ice in front of all these stores. It's not pleasant. I don't know, Elaad, if you've experienced like the New York fish markets. I don't like going there.
No, they're very trashy, but it's mostly only Chinese people down there. And if you go in the neighborhoods,
wonder
you're like,
why.
yeah, you're looked at differently too. Like you're out of place if you.
I want but it's not that it's these open air fish markets. They border the shopping districts, and it's like Lower East Side. There's a lot of to put it simply. It's not the worst problem in the world. No one really ever talks about it because it just smells bad. No, you just move. Your property value is going to go down, so you move. That is worrying in that our communities that were built and established by the men and women who came before us would be lost because we tolerate other cultures doing things that are disruptive. And that's not, for all I know, these people show up and say, we have to open as many open-air fish markets as possible, and then the property values will drop and we'll seize it all. I don't think that's the case. But whether it's intentional or otherwise, it is disruptive. It does cause us problems. And I think the big picture is we have to be more cognizant of this multicultural change that's been happening in this country for 50, 60 years and recognize it's going to destabilize our government. Nay, it has destabilized our country and government. And now we have a kleptocracy where basically every politician is trying to just extract as much as they can from the system. They don't actually want to solve problems. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know what I defended her a little bit when she announced she was leaving. I said, this sucks. She's been great. And then Mike Cernovich says, I don't know if you guys saw this. He tweeted at her, you need to finish your term. And then she makes some weird fake virtue signal, a man telling a woman to be in the kitchen. And I'm like, you know what, man? The reason I bring her up is that people are pointing out she set a retirement for just after her pension vests so she can leave and get paid. This is the kleptocracy of a country we live in. Everybody getting in, Tim Waltz, whoever it's going to be, they get in and say, okay, now that I'm in, how can I set myself up for life and watch look, it's all burning down. What do I care?
Just to argue on that Marjorie Taylor Greene point, the congressional pension is not much money. Once you consider in particular that Marjorie Taylor Greene was already very rich going into Congress.
I get it.
I don't think that makes any big difference. I think it was a big FU to Mike Johnson. I think that's who it was directed towards. But I think she needs to understand that it's also an FU to everybody who voted for her to serve out a 2-year term in the House of Representatives. I do think that while we're sitting here arguing and reconsidering whether or not if importing the third world will turn us into it, I'm satisfied that it seems as though that the administration understands that it indeed is. And I'm also very grateful at this point that the president isn't letting a so-called good crisis go to waste. I hate saying that because it makes me kind of sound like a piece of shit. But the president, after this happened, sent out a Truth Social where he said, I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of illegal Biden admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's AutoPen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States.
Let's go.
This was also followed up, one last thing, Tim, with what the administration is actually doing too now is halting the processing of all immigration requests from Afghanistan. They also ordered a review of all green cards issued to individuals from 19 countries and threatened a wider crackdown on migrants from what, he called third world countries. So this is a serious backlash to this one event, and I'm glad that the president and administration is taking this seriously.
Let's jump to this next story from Politico. This is big stuff. This is working class voters think Democrats are woke and weak. New research finds. I love this story. See, I had appeared on Jesse Waters' program, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, and y'all noticed because I wasn't here to open the show for the first 20 minutes. On his show, I said Donald Trump has been great for the working class, and we can see this reflected in the polls. But Democrats don't stand for anything. I couldn't tell you what their actual policies are. I got criticized by progressive groups and liberals. Probably I'm not going to name a bunch of them, but they're saying Tim Pool is praising Donald Trump and he's licking his boots, all this other stupid nonsense. Well, the funny thing is, this group called Deciding to Win, a Democrat group, said the exact same thing about a week later. Democrats stand for nothing. The American people, including those in the Democratic Party, do not trust them on core issues and do not believe they represent the issues the American people actually want to see. And there's some really, really great data points in this, where we have, let me see if I can find, we don't want to do that. We want to scroll down. There's two really great polls here showing, this one's fantastic. The Democratic Party's priorities from 2012 to 2024. We saw a 1,130% increase in the terms white, black, Latino, and Latina. We saw a 1,044% increase for LGBTQI+. 1,323% increase for the word hate. We saw 766% increase for reproductive. Here's where it gets real fun. 47% decline in the use of the word job or jobs. Economy minus 50. Middle class minus 79. Fathers minus 100. Man and men minus 51. Responsibility minus 83. Amazing. When we scroll down to what Democratic voters actually want, you'll see we have been right the whole time. This one's absolutely fascinating. Let's go to, I don't want just the swing voters, which they were showing.
This has climate change stuff so high.
It does.
I noticed.
So it says voters trust Republicans more on most of the issues they see as top priorities. On the cost of living, the most important issue with 85% saying yes, net trust in Democrats is -6. The economy -9. On inflation, -10. Taxes, -9. Healthcare, they get a +5. Political division is neutral. The budget deficit, -10. National security, -9. Immigration, -11. Crime, -11. Border security, -17. International trade, -10. They only really win on mental health. So the voters want the cost of living to be addressed, the economy to improve, inflation to go down, and cuts to their taxes. The biggest issues, all money in my pocket, and they hate Democrats on those issues. And if you say this, they'll call you right wing.
Yeah. I mean,
How absolutely insane. I got to tell this story. Shout out to Ken. I know the boys in the poker room are going to hear this. Ken's my liberal best friend in the poker room. He's an old man, but we get along. Although he was yelling at me. He asked me, could you make a show where you go in the middle and try and get everybody to talk together? And I said, oh, my show is the middle. And his eyes lit up. He goes, you in the middle? And I was like, I'm a former Democrat who donated the max to Democrats in 2020 against Donald Trump. On my show in 2020, saying explicitly, I am not supporting Donald Trump, and I am giving money to Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. And then I had a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and I said Trump is going to be better on these issues. So, yeah, we're in the middle. But the problem is Democrats don't have causes. They have hatred for Donald Trump.
Yep.
If you are saying, I want the economy to improve and immigration is out of control, you are right wing. Okay, so the right is, here's the right wing in America. We like this country, want it to be better in any way we can. And here's the left. Donald Trump is bad.
And
So okay.
when they're not saying Donald Trump is bad, they're saying the United States is bad. They're saying that the U.S. is an imperial abomination, that it's full of warmongers, and we have too many billionaires, et cetera, et cetera. The point is they just hate the United States.
Shelley, I feel like you deal with the id of the Democrat Party a lot in Portland. What do you think about how these issues manifest over there and what they care about? And I don't know, is there a division among far leftists and more centrist Democrat in that area and how that plays out?
Okay, I am very black-pilled on all of this. So just remember that when I say this. I believe that the voters where I live are with these issues. They're with the far left. You know, they're going to vote. If you say that the climate is going to kill us all, they're like, yes, and we're gonna vote for you. They're not the Democrat voters that are unhappy with the Democrat Party. They don't think they're weak, but they're also communists. So they're not actually Democrats. And
so here's the question. Let's say this assessment they've done, deciding to win. These are Democrats saying outright, guys, drop the identity issues and let's talk about the working class. How am I going to vote for these people? You think I'll ever trust Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer? These scumbags flip-flopped on their opinions to fit in with the AOCs. And AOC's not dropping this stuff. You can come out and scream in the faces of liberals and Democrats and tell them, please stop. They don't care. And so, to my best friend, in the Poke Room, Ken. He often asks me these great questions, and he's a good guy. But the thing is, the only clips he ever sees are the ones where liberals are trying to rage bait. And so he sees him and gets all flustered and angry because we say things like Democrats are evil for this reason. And he's not seeing us talk about these issues where we're like, the Democratic Party represents nothing. You can complain about Donald Trump all day and night, and I welcome it. That was always allowed. But who is actually dealing with these issues? The Republicans. The Republicans are the only ones that are actually talking about immigration and the economy, and they're not doing that well. Donald Trump is not doing well on these issues, but he's still better than Democrats.
Okay. A few years ago, I took a door knocking job to supplement my reporting job. And we were approaching people who were center left, center, and center right. And I was the interviewer. So I'd talk about the candidate, but I wanted to find out what they were thinking. And I'm talking about not far left voters in Oregon. And I went to all kinds of different cities, knocked on 10,000 doors. And the minute you said that the person was a Republican, they brought up abortion. But I'm going to lose my rights to abortion. Like, I don't know how you get through to people like that. It was all different ages.
So my response would be, this would be a great video. We should do it. You knock on the door when they say abortion. I say, okay, well, what if I could guarantee you? Can I put you down for 5 abortions? I'm not. This is not a joke. If we negotiated with the Republicans and said all women will get a guaranteed at least 3, it's 3 abortions, a good amount for you, that you can get at least 3. So here's the point. What we don't want is serial abortion, reckless stuff, but you're not going to get more than 3 abortions, right? It's 5. 5.
They want unlimited.
So I will tell you what we figured out from my interviewing. You're constantly changing the message. Was in the state of Oregon, it is enshrined in our state constitution that you can have an abortion up through the 9th month. And the only thing that would change that is a 2/3, a quorum vote of the House and the Senate, and the governor would have to sign off on that. So we started reminding people of that, and it didn't make a difference.
I got a better idea. Go door to door and say we want mandatory abortion. And then when they say, I think it should be a choice, you'd be like, oh, what about the climate? This planet is dying, and you think you should be allowed to burn it down? No. We are so pro-abortion, you don't get a choice. All abortions.
They'd like that. I think they'd like that.
They just go like, I'm going to be honest, it'll please Moloch.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, whoops.
For real.
I thought I was pulling a fast one on you.
Well, and just remember, I wasn't even talking to the progressives. I was talking to the center left, center, and the center right.
See, this is what the right needs to be doing more of. Someone needs to make a new political party called the Moloch Party, and you go to Oregon and just say like, we're fighting for reproductive rights for women. They'll be like, what's the Moloch Party? And you'll be like, abortion is our biggest issue. We're for it. We think women should absolutely have the right. We think actually in certain circumstances, women shouldn't actually choose at all. The state should just abort the baby. Sometimes you got to do it.
They would win.
Well, Moloch demands it. And if the quota isn't there, then we're going to have to make it happen. But you're not against abortion, are you? Mm-hmm. This is the game they play. You say, we think some women should have to get an abortion whether they want to or not. And say, that's wrong. So you're against abortion? They'll be like, no, you're pro-life. We're anti-life. We're the Moloch Party. The beast demands it.
That exists right now.
I honestly, I bet there is the Moloch Party.
I mean, I don't know that you're going to get a lot of people that are going to say, well, I'll take a limit on my abortions. The idea that is in people's head is, well, what if I need it? What if I need it? As if you can
Well, we guarantee you at least one.
Guarantee one.
So here's what we'll do. Here's the game. Everybody gets one, right? Do you think you'll need 2 abortions? Okay, I'll compromise. You can have 2 abortions. Is that enough?
The Shout My Abortion crowd will not want it.
They need more than 2?
They love doing it. I
got to be honest.
Celebrate it.
This is actually, I think,
Yes.
a good survey to do. I think it would be interesting to go door to door in a Democrat area and ask women, and in all seriousness, say we're doing surveys on pro-life and pro-choice, and are you in favor of a legal abortion with with no restrictions, or do you believe there should be some restrictions? And when they say I don't think there should be any restrictions, a woman's choice, be like, on average, how many abortions have you gotten, or do you think you will need? And it's not a joke. It's not meant to be offensive. We're honestly trying to figure this out. See what are women going to say? What is the average woman going to say?
I imagine some will say 0, but they still like the idea of wanting to have one if they need one, as many as they want. And now the others who say
as if
dozens.
you could accidentally get pregnant.
They don't understand how any of this works.
Accidentally.
Whoops. He fell, and next thing you know,
sat in a toilet seat in the men's room.
Yeah.
Just happened.
So many times.
Oops. I do think it would be interesting if someone actually surveyed Democrat women and asked them, on average, how many abortions have they had, or do they think they will need to have?
I think
I think they're all going to say 0.
It's a bit fascinating that that's one of the top issues that this lady was concerned with, particularly given that the Trump administration is one of the most pro-choice Republican administrations that we've had in the past, 50 plus years. One of the most stark things that I think really embodies this is how I believe there was a case, I think it was in Texas, about how they wanted to change how the abortion pill was prescribed and being mailed to people. And then they decided to have the case dropped instead of adjudicating it. I think that, and then I think also overturning Roe v. Wade, sending it back to the states, but then the president saying that he wants to let the states decide is at best a neutral position on it.
Let's jump to this next story. We got this from taskandpurpose.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Civil War. It's not a joke. Billboards aimed at troops ask, is this what you signed up for? The signs are aimed at troops troubled by legal issues around military units ordered into domestic law enforcement roles. It's absolutely what you signed up for. The precedent on the protective principle has been around for generations, and all they're doing is trying to trick people into thinking it's illegal to cause them to defy the chain of command. This is the intentional factionalization of our military. We've got this from Win Without War. Look at all these images from Chicago. Army National Guard, you joined to serve your community, so what are you doing in Chicago? Not what you signed up for. I think I actually have other images here. Did you go airborne just to pull security for ICE? This one's outside of Fort Bragg in North Carolina. You've got this one, Marines, not what you signed up for. You've got options. These are all explicitly illegal. Now, I got questions about Lamar advertising, as well as I think the one we see here is Outfront. And we work with Outfront on billboards. So this is crazy. I think we might have some more. Okay, so those are the images we have. The website, it brings you to this. When you go to their website, it says, not what you signed up for. You saw the billboard. You have questions. You're not alone. But first, here are proactive steps you can take to reduce risk. Risk of what? Elaad, risk of what?
Risk of getting caught leaking illegal material to probably people who you shouldn't be. That's what it seems like. Risk of breaking your oath that you made to the Constitution when you signed up to be a law official.
What?
Or law enforcement.
They don't really define what the risk is. I think it's pretty obvious. The risk is criminal liability. Reduce your criminal liability risk. It says, do not use a government device. Use a personal device. Use Proton Mail. Use Signal. Use a VPN. Why? They intend to talk you into disobeying the chain of command or being disloyal to the military. And there is a risk in doing that. Mm-hmm. This is the most terrifying thing I've seen yet. And this has been going on since October. They are putting up billboards telling the military to defect. So when people asked me all the time, how could it be that we'd have a civil war? Where is the military going to rise up against the military? This is literally it. Now, I was thinking, there's something I've been thinking about quite a bit as it pertains to all the death threats and the escalation of violence. And, we often get asked the question or ask it, when do you flee? When do you flee a country? When do you flee your home city or state or whatever? When do you flee Oregon? And the response is, any time you decide to flee your home for some reason of disorder, it will feel premature. If you are the Jews in Germany who waited, you were put in a camp and you were killed. If you left before anything happened, you were mocked. You're paranoid. There's a photo I saw of Anne Frank and her sister on the beach in Amsterdam, like a year before they killed her or some horrifying thing. And it's because there were many Jews in Germany who started leaving, going to Israel, in fact, many of them. And I think Einstein was one of them. I don't know the full story. But there were many Jews saying, hey, we can recognize things are going to be bad. We're going to leave now. But there were many who stayed saying, you're being paranoid. It's not going to happen. And then they were loaded into camps. And I hate to be Godwin's Law. There's a lot of these things that are happening around the world in various countries. This is just the most notable example of people deciding, you're paranoid, nothing's going to happen. I bring this up not to suggest anyone flee their home country or their home or anything like that, but to point out, when you see this, I guarantee you there are going to be people going, it's just a nonprofit. They're not doing it's conversations. It all starts somewhere. And I will stress to you again, as we've made the point 1,000,001 times, that after the Battle of Fort Sumter, the American people did not believe we were in a civil war, so they picnicked at the first Battle of Bull Run. It's actually worse than that. The phrase Civil War wasn't even used for 2 years into the Civil War. They didn't think a civil war was happening when they were literally sending 15,000 Union troops into southern states to go and capture generals and leaders. That's how insane it is. So my point is simply this. When they are calling on when they're calling Trump's orders illegal, when they are calling on the military to defect and defy the president, we are already past the Fort Sumter moment historically. If Donald Trump were to suspend habeas corpus, as Stephen Miller already suggested he could on the issue of immigration, if Trump said, due to the threat and risks now facing our National Guard with the assassination of this young woman and the attempted assassination of this young man, we are suspending habeas corpus along transport routes for our military for the purpose of quelling violence and preventing sabotage and terrorism. That would be 100% in line with what Abraham Lincoln did. It was shortly after the first Battle of Bull Run, I believe. Actually, no, it might have been before Bull Run. Maybe it was after. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus so that Union troops could be dispatched without risk of sabotage. Anybody caught near the rail lines could be arrested for literally no reason. And he did. One guy got locked up for like 2 or 3 years without any charges. They just threw him away and said, we don't know, we don't care. Get out of here. Imagine if Trump did that today. Lincoln literally did it. And this is, I should get the dates on this one, because this is not a point at which the country was in full-scale war. It was before troops amassed, before any invasions, before there were battlefronts. I think it was just after Bull Run. But what we're looking at now, these billboards, it is screaming in your face. They know there's risk. The risk is criminal liability, and they are calling on the military to factionalize. So you will get, as I've already explained, my country or my home, and these people are going to say my home.
Before my family and I left West Virginia, or New York for West Virginia, before West Virginia was even an option on the table, we were like, we got to leave. This is at the tail end of lockdowns. And we had people in New York, politicians, talking about passing a law that would be like, we could remove you from your home if you're a threat to the health of your community. So we're like, maybe this is a time we should be thinking about leaving. We were seriously considering it, and I'm glad we left when we did. You know, that law did not pass yet, but they've been trying to pass it for years. And that was just one of many instances. I'm sure you went through a lot of stuff and where you're at, but.
So yes, it was April 27th, 1861, Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus along the Philadelphia-Washington rail line. It wasn't until July 21st, the first Battle of Bull Run. Yep. So Fort Sumter happens, and this is a military conflict where the only person who died, it was an accidental death. No one thinks it's a civil war. Abraham Lincoln says, habeas corpus suspended. There was no war at this time. The Constitution is clear. The president has no authority to do this. Lincoln did it anyway. 3 years later, Congress retroactively approved it. If Donald Trump were to come out right now and say, we are issuing a suspension of habeas corpus along federal interstate highways for the purpose of preventing sabotage and terrorism against our military, and citing the death of this young woman, that would be completely in line with Abraham Lincoln. And then, September 24th, 1862, Abraham Lincoln issued a nationwide suspension of habeas corpus. You could be arrested for literally any reason and locked up indefinitely.
I mean, I think at least 3 out of the 6 people sitting here at this table have moved because of, because of what the government in the state they came from or originated in So I think that what you're talking about is already starting. People are already, all the people that have moved from New York down to Florida, all the people that have left California to go to Texas. The country's already begun that.
I'd already be gone, except for I have an elderly mother. I've made myself a target. I found caltrops in my driveway a month and a half ago.
I saw the post you put about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, that wasn't from the government, but,
I do think there's an important, it's important to recognize that this is a concerted effort by progressives and on the far left to demoralize different law enforcement agencies for their own gain. They've done this with the police in the past. Now they've moved on to different ICE agents. Elected officials, lawmakers encourage protesters and agitators to obstruct and prevent ICE agents from doing their job. Most recently, we saw this in New York City, but we're seeing this across the country. We're seeing lawmakers encourage just random city dwellers to attack, obstruct, and do whatever you can to get in the way of different ICE agents. Now they're advancing to the National Guard and trying to encourage them to reconsider the oath that they made. And where does this end? It ends with the disintegration of law enforcement. It ends with the demoralization of law enforcement. It ends up with lower quality law enforcement as a result of that they are more easily able to manipulate. So I think that's something we should be cognizant of in what the left is trying to achieve here. I'm sure you see a lot of that. Still, I think they're trying to defund the Portland police, or at one point, just kept it capped to how many cops they could hire or whatnot.
It's so underfunded, and it's not just underfunded, but they're demoralized, and hiring is an issue. And I kept telling people that we need the National Guard at the ICE building, because instead of having 70 to 80 police at night on the ground, which is what they should have for that precinct, they have 7 to 10.
Yeah. And look, the left is extremely effective in these demoralization strategies. ICE agents, what videos do you see online of them? You have people of crowds talking trash to them. Then you see lawmakers come out calling them Nazis and Gestapo. Tim Walz, the retard governor from Minnesota, comes out and calls these people the Gestapo. And, you're a young guy and you think you're helping your community. And then you have these people trying to demoralize you. Protesters come in your face, getting in your way, saying you're kidnapping people. So trying to get you to question what you were doing when you're actually saving the country. And it's scary how effective they are. Why would you want to be a police? You see how they're treated. You may do something questionable, and you'll know that the governor or the mayor most likely won't have your back. And qualified immunity is being not struck down, but being chipped away in certain cases. And it's like, why would you want to become a cop nowadays? Why would you want to protect and serve? It's all sacrifice and no reward. People used to look up, I think, in some degree to our law enforcement in different capacities. But nowadays, they effectively polarized. This is an issue, and it feels as though only Republicans support law enforcement. And, for many Democrats, they're equivalent to the Gestapo, which is literally crazy. And we can't have only Republicans wanting to get into law enforcement.
And ever since COVID, Republicans actually support law enforcement less than they ever have.
This is true. Even you seeing that in Portland, too.
Once we get rid of trust in law enforcement, that's the beginning of the end of our society. Law enforcement really is the cultural fabric of our society and helps keep things orderly. Without them, I know people think they'll be protecting themselves with guns and whatnot, but we need them. We need ICE agents and Border Patrol.
The idea of protecting yourself with guns is only possible in certain jurisdictions, and those jurisdictions happen to not be the ones where it's most necessary to have guns to protect yourself.
I could not. Everybody would tell me, oh, when you got attacked down at ICE, you need to take a gun, you need to conceal carry. I'm like, 1, conceal carry is outlawed in Portland, and 2, if I shot anybody, even if they were choking me or stabbing me, I would go to jail.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? ICE is still having trouble filling their ranks. They're offering a $50K signing bonus, but they're still struggling to, I think it's 10,000 some odd positions that they were trying to fill. Apparently, Americans are very fat, not in shape, and not qualified to become even law enforcement agents. You saw how widely they were trying to advertise this stuff. So I guess this is a quick message to anybody in the audience. If we're a young, able-bodied, preferably man, frankly, it's worth considering, right, Serge? Nice. You get to deport them.
I think.
Could you imagine me and Serge?
It is worth considering, but it's also like most people are aware of how the left treats law enforcement. Most people are aware that even if you're not an activist, people that are just center left kind of look down on law enforcement. It was a thankless job 15 years ago. Nowadays, it's a thankless job, and you're not going to have the support of your local justice department.
Thankless job. You don't get a thank you. You get an F you from your community more often than not. And and everybody, it's cool to be a dick to cops nowadays. The culture is such that it is cool to be, I see these not sometimes legal observers, but First Amendment auditors or whatnot. Just people looking to F around with cops and just, abuse our system and try to produce lawsuits and whatnot. It's unfortunate. It really is. Because once we don't have the law enforcement there, I think our society will be in a lot of trouble. And we're making it such that we encourage the worst people to join, the best of the best, because it's such a shitty job and because it's not looked up to. Nobody talented or with skills wants to do it. So what does that leave us with? The worst of the worst doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the quality of person that is joining law enforcement, like, you're not getting dudes that are like, yeah, I really want to help my community nearly in the amount necessary. A lot of dudes are like, oh, well, it's a job, or I get to push people around. They get into law enforcement for the wrong reason.
Hey, you got a state-sponsored gun? Hey, I think it's one of the only jobs where you still have a pension after the fact. So, I mean, hey, guys, might be worth considering.
I do think people should really look to Portland when they want to see what's going to happen with it's a multi-prong approach. It's the governor, it's the attorney general, it's the people on the street, it's the nonprofits, and they're going after these people to demoralize them.
God forbid the rest of the country turns into, and we'd be, hopefully we don't recognize that anywhere outside of Portland. But
let's jump to this next story from TMZ. Waymo drives through middle of police standoff in Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the AI nightmare. Your stupid AI car doesn't understand anything outside of what the little lines on the street actually mean. So when there's bang, bang, get down, no, freeze, stop, gun, 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 the Waymo just keeps on keeping on. So we actually have the video here. Check this out. We're gonna play the clip here for you. Actually, I think I got to get the audio going. There we go. Let's play this. Here's the
fucking Waymo. Oh my God. Oh my God. What the fuck is that Waymo doing?
Doing the backslag.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So here's the problem. Look at that guy. But there's no look. The guy's already on the ground, right? The issue is, as soon as the Waymo got in front of him, that dude could have ran for it. Because all of a sudden, those cops can't shoot. But here's the other problem. Imagine what happens if you're an accomplice of this guy, and the cops are telling everyone, back off, and the Waymo drives up, and the cops, are they going to be thinking, it's just a Waymo? And then, as it's slowly going towards him, it just slams the gas and just slams into him. The assumption that a Waymo is just being stupid, it can't happen. So you know what I think is going to happen? You know why I think this story exists? Not intentionally, doesn't matter. It's emergent. Okay, meaning these things are going to be like dominoes falling over. Police are going to demand the ability to override Waymos around them. Then people are going to say, well, you guys saw that video of the Waymo driving into the standoff, right? You don't want that to happen to you, do you? You could get shot. Of course police should have the ability to override AI cars.
This conversation's already been happening for about a year or two. They've been talking about being able to repo electric cars remotely.
Oh, they can.
So they're going to try.
Bro, it's going to happen with a Tesla.
Yes.
So we got the new update, I guess, for the Cybertruck. Mm-hmm. And the way auto driving works is that you can click the little wheel on the steering wheel, and it'll start driving the address you put it into. Mm-hmm. If you're on a highway and you click auto drive, it'll just auto drive on the highway. If you're in a city, it's not going to turn or do anything. But if you punch in an address, it'll drive the whole way. So you can just literally sit there staying at the road, just does it for you. The new update, it'll start driving even from the parking lot. So today we went to eat, we sat down, and it said start auto drive in a gray box I'd never seen before. You click it, and it backs out of the parking space and then carries you on your way. We've talked about this for years, actually. You're going to get in your car. I mean, this is why I keep saying we got to make these short films. We got to get someone to do this. We can make these great little bits. A guy gets in his car, and then he goes, auto car, I'm going to work. And it goes, got it, taking you to work. Well, the AI doesn't talk that way anymore. That's an old trope from the 90s. But it'll go, got it, taking you to work. and then it'll start backing out. Then all of a sudden it'll stop and the lights will turn off. Everything will turn red and it'll go, receiving a notification from the police, outstanding warrant, bench warrant received. Car will be diverting to the local precinct, 66th Street, and then the doors lock. And then you're driven to the police station.
Stuck.
And it pulls up and the cops are waiting for you and you're just in the car like this.
Look,
Sounds like China.
what if we could do that with illegals though? This is kind of based. I mean, it applied properly.
You're taking jobs away from ICE. You just promoted ICE. We want
look,
people, we want
we
people
need to get
doing
these
this.
out by
hold on.
any means necessary.
Wait. Here's the play. Trump should announce that they're launching brand new free Waymos. It's like, we're going to make transport free because we believe in helping the poor. So federal cars in every city, use the app, and if they're available, you can have one. And then it's just as soon as someone gets in, it's like, gotcha. And then it just drives to ICE.
Right across the border.
Doesn't drive to ICE, drives
Ejection seat,
straight to
yeah.
Tijuana.
No, it drives to Canada.
Like
Toronto, here we come.
If you're having a so-called mental health episode or something, or you're dealing with like a psycho or something, you lure them into the car, involuntarily capture them, and then send them to prison.
You know, it's pretty wild that
You could bait them with drugs in the car. You bait the crackheads with drugs into the car, and then jail them in the car, and then you could take them out of New York and send them to.
The government's been doing this for
God
decades.
knows where.
They did it in Newburgh, New York.
it's going to be weird, you know, in like 30 years when there's barely any humans left and almost everything is a robot and police are just robots. And you're walking down the street and the robot comes up to you and it goes, "Halt, citizen. You are caught jaywalking." And you go, I wasn't. I've been on the sidewalk all the time. It's like, "Stop resisting." And then it starts flashing lights. Yep. And then you're just like, I didn't do anything. And it just grabs you.
I knew it would stop if I called them anti-Semitic.
Yes. You'd be like, "Actually, this is racist police brutality." And it goes, "I'm sorry about that. Please don't tell anyone."
I'm not jaywalking. I'm not jaywalking.
Did you film
What do you
this?
mean jaywalking?
Is that your phone? You did film it? Please don't put it on TikTok.
I knew the world was over the night before lockdowns happened in New York when I went to a supermarket and saw everyone like grabbing toilet paper, that whole thing. And there was a line out the door at the supermarket up in Cortland Manor, New York. And we're all in line out the door. And just slowly rolling by everyone is a googly-eyed robot on wheels staring at all of us. I'm like, well, that's it, folks. It was nice knowing you.
They're everywhere, dude.
Everywhere.
I went. I can't remember. Was it like a Wegmans or something? I can't remember where I was.
Yeah.
And there was a giant robot, and they put googly eyes on it, and it makes me want to bash it with a baseball bat more.
It's to normalize it. I saw a googly-eyed robot like stalk a child in a Wegmans recently. I'm like, dude, don't stalk that child. We'll take you outside, robot.
What are the robots even doing?
They, from what I've seen, they see if there's a mess in an aisle, and then they just repeat "mess on aisle 9, mess on aisle 9" until a human goes and cleans it, until the robot can clean it itself.
It'd be awesome if there's actually just like a guy in there pedaling. He's just
like an R2D2 situation. Yeah.
Small person.
the grocery store doesn't want to admit they can't afford actual AI bots, so it's just a guy and he's just going like this.
I'd appreciate that. That'd be great.
Right?
It's about time we got a guy to patrol the
Yeah,
stores and
yeah.
make sure the messes are getting cleaned up.
It's fixing unemployment, right?
I have the Tesla auto drive has improved massively.
Sure has.
I've had a few close calls that were scary. It almost rammed another car. And it you know what really irks me is that in Charlestown it doesn't understand what no turn on red means. So it's always trying to turn on red when it says no turn on red. I'm like, this is weird to me. Can't you tell you're not allowed to do this? And then also there's a left turn only lane. It always tries to just ram the intersection. And I'm like, you will die if you do that. And then I'm, I'll tell you what really pisses me off. Elon, hear this. Dude, Tesla auto drive speeds like 20 over. No joke. If I get on the highway, let's say I'm like driving from like DC to, West Virginia. The speed limit's 55. I'll turn on auto drive and it'll start going 75 or 80.
They have different
You can
settings.
turn it down,
Yeah.
but why would it knowingly automatically do that?
Well, I mean, that's
Why?
why it gives you the option.
It is,
It should know
But it's the
speed limit.
default.
but this is crazy that there's an option to break the law. Tesla's like, would you like to set your robot to commit a crime? Yes. Okay. Like everybody reasonably drives about 5 miles over. I will say it's getting increasingly crazier that when I was young, I was told everybody goes about 5 miles and over, you're fine. If you really get pulled over for speeding about 5 miles and over, the judge will probably throw it out. Now, people are speeding like 15 over everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's just nobody's taking the speed limit seriously, and the cops can just choose to pull you over if they don't like you. Mm-hmm. But it is crazy to me that I get on the highway and I have to manually tell it not to go that fast. If I'm in a like if I'm on a side street, it'll go the right speed. As soon as it's on the highway, it's like I'm going 80.
Does it know if there's a cop around, so it just slows down automatically?
No.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like it might be not in the car's data, but they may know because like Waze data and Google tracks all that stuff. Yeah. But other than that,
I don't know.
there is an interesting question of at what point do police get the ability to override your car, and more importantly, at what point the question needs to be asked: why is it possible for Tesla to know the speed limit is 55 and it'll show you on the screen, but actually automatically break the law?
Well, I don't think the speed limit's ever above 100, but cars are still made to be able to go 100 miles per hour. So, I mean,
but that's a choice you make to go 100 miles an hour. The issue I'm bringing up is you can turn on autopilot and it will choose to break the law.
Well, you can choose to have it go to like chill or sloth mode if you don't want to break the speed limit at all.
I guess
It's
the question
same
is,
choice
it's a
situation.
tool, and you could choose what you do with the tool. And if you want to break the law with the
my
tool,
point is we are going to enter a future where they make it so that cars can only go the speed limit. When we are right now we're in the overlap we're looking at is you get in the car, you press the accelerator down, and you try to keep the speed at the right limit. You can slam it and fly down the street if you want to by flooring it because this is a product of a pre-AI world. When every car is pre-programmed and it's all AI, they will not be allowed to violate the speed limit. When every car they're going to outlaw driving. It's going to happen. Driving will be illegal, and every car will be automated, and car ownership will be rare. I don't know if it was Uber who said this, but the vision is every single car is just fleets that all interact with each other. So there's never traffic ever again. When you're about to pull onto a highway during rush hour, instead of getting jammed and everyone's trying to move and slow, every car can stop and start at the same time. So all of a sudden you're in your car on the highway and it slows down 1 mile an hour and you see a gap forming very slowly with the car in front of you. And then a car slides in perfectly and no one ever stops. They may increase or get rid of speed limits. They may say you don't need a speed limit because nobody can drive. Every car just must go the same speed. That's where we're going.
I'm removing one piece of technology from my house every day until my wife wakes up and realizes we're Amish. And I'm going to have a horse and carriage. And that's how we're going to live out our days because I don't like that future. They're going to make the cop cars go fast as they want.
Bro, I'm telling you, like,
feds.
the vision I had is you're going to be an old man and your grandkids are going to be hanging out. You're going to be in your, nice field or whatever, and the dog's catching the Frisbee. And then your grandkid's going to be like, Grandpa, what are all of those weird things floating in the sky? And there's going to be a bunch of black vehicles going left and right transporting like raw materials for the AI Nexus. And you go, oh, that's the Nexus. Well, what's that? Well, those are the transport vehicles for the entity that controls the planet and rules over the galaxy. Yep. And then, or maybe not that point, galaxy, but over the planetary colonization system of artificial intelligence. And you're just a couple of humble ants.
Well, I'll tell them those are the things that'll blow Grandpa up if I tweet one more thing they don't like.
Blackville IRL.
You're like, well, actually, it's the AI Nexus. And all of a sudden, 10 of them just break and then fly down and surround you and start spinning. And then barrels come out pointed at you. And then smiley faces appear on the screen being like, we love you,
Yeah,
right?
Great. Yep.
Hell, grandson, we love him.
It's the future. I mean, that's kind of how it is in Afghanistan because of all the drones. When I was working at an auction gallery, we started to see a lot of prayer rugs coming to the auction gallery from Afghanistan. They saw so many drones over there. They started to stitch them around the prayer rugs. So it was like a part of their everyday life because their sky was filled with drones from Obama.
I don't actually think the AI is going to kill you, though.
Not yet.
No, it's not. It's never. It's not going to kill you in the way where like it shows up with a gun and says do it or else. It's going to just give you drugs and stuff. It's going to be the machine is going to tell you whatever you want to hear, and it's going to make you believe whatever it wants you to believe.
It'll be like that, but there's also stuff like AI Lavender that they're doing in Gaza. That's a death machine. It pretty much chooses who
I'm
dies.
saying like when the AI fully takes over, there's not going to be a need for the AI to be like, you are going to die. It's going to be like, you require medical assistance in dying. Mm-hmm. And the person's going to go, I do. Yep. They're going to believe it all because the AI isn't just mechanisms. It is the networks of information we have.
It'll be a tool of Big Pharma at that point, just pumping you full of slop.
I mean, I don't see how our economy exists in the AI future. One thing we were talking about with all these prediction markets is that I was like, maybe the post-capitalism future is when everyone's just too fat because there's food everywhere, and we have an abundance of properties and houses. I'm like, when we get to that point, then the only way to make money is to be able to predict future events. So everyone's just sports betting and doing events contracts. And it's like, you were right, something happened, so now you can buy an extra slice of pizza.
Nothing ever happens, though. So
But
no one ever gets any money.
Just canceled. Everyone's canceled.
But it's literally just betting on, like, you know, will Trump say the word nuclear this week? And you're going to be like, I think he will. I think he won't. Ah, he did. I guess you can buy that new car you wanted. And then people are just trying to get better at being right about stuff. I mean, I'm describing what's happening now.
Seriously. That's
I
why we have Holly Market.
wonder if we're like, when are we going to see the first like Kalshi millionaire? Like some 18-year-old kid who had like $300 went on Kalshi and then traded events up to millions of dollars.
Watch it be the guy with the Neuralink. The first Neuralink patient.
Just he can predict what's happening. I mean, that's pretty crazy. The idea that you know, I will say this. There are some very obvious Kalshi bets you can make where it's like, maybe I shouldn't say bets, but trades, where it's like a 95% chance of happening. So you put in $100, you win $3 or something. It's $3. And if you're picking contracts that end in like a few days, you put in $1,000, you get $30 for free. It's like literally free money. Yep. I have to imagine there's a bunch of people doing arbitrage where they're just going in and betting on sure things and then making money from doing it.
Kalshi future.
Have you seen these videos where, oh, bro, gambling content is skyrocketing? It's Gen Z's thing. Gen Z's thing is now to be gambling. There are these videos where like a guy walks into a restaurant, like a fast food place, and he's like, let me get, you know, a double cheeseburger and a big large fry. And they're like, that'll be, you know, 21.67. And he goes, hold on. Then he pulls up his phone and he goes to a gambling app, and then he plays. He's like, he bets $20 on blackjack, loses. Doubles it. It's called martingale. Loses. Doubles it to $80. Wins. He goes, all right, just paid for my lunch.
I think that's a gambling ad, but I do know what kind of content you're talking about.
They're ads. That is, these people are sponsored by the companies to do these things, and there's a bunch of them. There's a guy who walks in to buy a coffee at Starbucks. He's like, how much is it? And they're like $4.79. He goes, hold on. Opens up the app and he puts $5 on blackjack. Hit it. All right, coffee's free.
Yeah, well, it's this entire gambling industry. They have so much money to throw at these different advertisements. And especially as we legalize different parts of online gambling, particularly in the sports betting world, it's taking over so much of different ad space. It's DraftKings and all these other...
You know what it is? It's lowest common denominator. Everybody likes it. It's entertaining. And young people are getting very into it. And so here's the secret right now. This change is going to happen. The... CPMs for gambling content, it's like 5 times greater than that for cultural and news content. I guarantee you will start to see this pop up among prominent influencers who typically did not do this. The people who are in the... let me just put it this way. Hey, notice all those conservative influencers who are promoting gambling websites getting paid to do it? You didn't see that? We covered it last week.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Elijah Schaefer, I believe, Pearl, and others were promoting a gambling website Americans aren't allowed to use. And I guess the rumor is they're paying something like $12,000 a month or something. I don't know if that's the true number.
They're very far from the only ones, too, because I believe Aiden Ross and even Drake have a deep involvement with Stake that's paying out. It's like an online gambling website that's paying out millions. And I think it's really sad because these are huge industries literally just made off of the backs of losing men, of poor men literally losing their money. You don't win. That's how the industry makes money. The money doesn't come anywhere but from your pockets. And guess what? Rich people don't actually gamble. People like Drake don't actually gamble.
That's not true.
They're already rich, more often than not.
No. The issue with Drake gambling and like Dana White is that they can't gamble. They make so much money, they could never gamble.
They're sponsored by
Dana White's
companies. He's not sponsored by anything, you don't think? Any of these casinos? Dana works with the
White,
UFC to...
I'm sure. Isn't Dana White a billionaire? Yeah, so when he bets $100,000, he doesn't need to be sponsored.
Yeah, but he does UFC promotions at these different casinos and hotel resorts, and he has a deep relationship with them, and he's self-interested in advertising for them through his work.
I would agree with you that these guys often are sponsored in such a way to promote it, but I think I was reading like I don't know if I think it was Post Malone. I can't remember the number, but he said it's a story I heard. Maybe I'm misremembering. But he said something like, I have to play at least $10,000 blackjack hands, otherwise I don't feel anything, because he's so rich.
Yeah.
So
This is so dark.
I actually I don't know if I completely agree. I think there's a problem that so many casinos are popping up, but people get entertainment and waste their money on lots and lots of things. I would rather someone, there's limits to this, but let me ask you guys: would you rather someone spend their entire paycheck on eating cake and like ding dongs and ho hos,
Kinda, yeah.
and doing mukbang,
Because-
or
Wait, or what?
or like going to a bar, sports book where they bet several $100s on a football game and then maybe they win or lose?
Cake.
At least when you're buying and eating the cake, you're contributing to an industry and you're hiring other people and it's stimulating the economy. These casinos and different online betting sports books are just feels like leeches on society. They don't make anything. They don't produce anything for the economy. As opposed to, I mean, you could be gluttonous and disgusting and a fat pig eating a bunch of fucking cake, which
And then
is
we die.
gross, and die. But like,
Yeah, I gotta be
you
honest.
could lose
I would-
all your money a lot quicker gambling the $1,000 away than eating $1,000 worth of cake.
It is better that okay, so I'm not advocating for an authoritarian system of taking people's money away, but I will just say a flat mathematical analysis. It is better that someone loses the excess money they have than gorges themselves in a mukbang video.
Well, you know, the government does this in a certain way with Social Security. They make you save
Right.
that
Well,
way.
Bloomberg wanted to tax. He banned large sodas and he wanted to tax the poor because they make bad decisions. I'm not in favor of that, but it is true. If you took one of these poor people who's gorging themselves on these videos where these fat women are like, here's what I give my 9-year-old to eat, and they take like a whole freezer bag of pizza rolls and then they like put mayonnaise on it, and then their kids just, I'm like, we'd be better off if they didn't have that money. I am not saying we should take their money from them. I'm saying if they're entertained by sports betting, both have their detriments. Both are fine in moderation. A person who goes to a bar with his buddies and they're hanging out, they're having a good time. He got a fork and he says, "Look, man, I'm tired. I just want to add a little fun to the game. We're gonna watch football. It's Monday night or whatever." And I put $50 down. I got no problem with that. He then orders a slice of cake after he has his cheeseburger. I got no problem with that. The dude who dumps his entire paycheck gambling, like some of these people are doing, that's wrong. But then what do? Do you say you're not like we take away the freedom of choice for the people who do these things? My point is this. There's a lot of things that are really bad. The expansion of casinos, the over-gambling, gambling influence, all of this stuff is out of control. But I don't know that we create a society where we say, we're going to ban this because some people are abusive, unless you want to make the argument fat people shouldn't be allowed to buy cake anymore. And I don't mean that facetiously. I mean, should we tell morbidly obese people they're not allowed to buy desserts?
Fat people can eat and buy as much cake as they want, but I don't want to have to pay for their health care when they inevitably get diabetes and have to cut off their leg.
Agreed.
The issue is with some of these vices, when they get so bad and can ruin lives so aggressively, it's like, where do we put the limit? It's like the same thing, I believe, for certain drugs where some are legal and some are illegal, and the illegal ones kind of go beyond
I got to tell you, it is a fact that obesity is a bigger problem than gambling addiction. Like, the United States has a massive obesity problem. And so, honest question, like, how do you deal with it? I don't like the idea that you can go to some, like, construction worker guy who he's like, listen, man, once a week, Sunday nights, me and the boys get together, we order burgers, we have a beer, and I put $50 down on FanDuel or DraftKings, and then we all get to laugh and cheer when we were right or wrong, and I lost $50, or I won $50 this week. It is a problem when a guy takes his entire paycheck, goes to the craps table, loses it all, is shaking. That's bad. Mm-hmm. And we try to create rules to stop that. At the same time, it is substantially worse. The United States has a morbid obesity crisis.
I think these are cultural issues and that
Agreed.
couldn't ultimately be solved at the government level. On the gambling thing, I will say, though, the people who advertise and push this shit literally loathe you and think you are an idiot and willing to sell you out for money. They know you will lose. They hate you and are still willing to sell you out for maybe $5 or $10 grand.
And the guy who sells ho-hos and ding-dongs and all these garbage foods, no, they're pumping you full of poison and I don't agree with that.
You think that's morally equivalent? People who push gambling versus people who push sweet treats?
I think the sweet treats are worse.
A baker
Are you
is
kidding?
worse than a person.
Baker? We're talking about tartrazine being pumped into children, bro. This is really funny. Like, I can't remember who it was. There was like a cereal company announced they were. No. It was Doritos, I think. Was it Doritos? There was a post that went viral where I think it was Doritos, I could be wrong, said we're now creating an artificial dye-free version, and then went, oh, so the poison was a choice? The poison. So my point is this. If you choose to go play a game, whether it be an arcade, which is worse than gambling, mind you, because arcade rewards are like 2% of what casino rewards are. Kids go to arcades to win tickets off of playing whack-a-mole, and the amount of money you spend there is substantially less than you get back. So everybody's going to go and spend money on some form of entertainment, and people like going to casinos. People are entertained by what they're entertained by. The abuse and the abuse of vice is the problem. But I will tell you this. These food companies that are knowingly putting oil, they're putting petroleum derivatives in their food so it sells better, knowing it's causing mental issues and killing people, is substantially worse than creating a space where a guy can hang out on the weekend and make sports bets, or where someone wants to play some blackjack. You are upset, Elaad, because some people abuse this, but most people don't actually gamble that much.
I think this is a system that's taking advantage of young, poor men. I think young men are struggling in our country. They're struggling with porn addiction. They're struggling with women. They're struggling with different substances. And now they're struggling with addiction to gambling too. A quick way to, oh, you're struggling with money, you're poor. Here's a quick way out of your struggle. You need money and you need some success. You can come gamble. You have some sports knowledge. Come gamble with us. We'll make your life better. I think they're selling people a false dream. And a lot of the advertisers do the same way. That's one of my biggest beefs with the industry.
I will tell you what I have a problem with. There's conspiracy theories that these gambling influencers are playing rigged games. There was a video of a guy betting $1,000 on blackjack, and everybody accused. There was a viral video where they said what's really happening is these influencers call the casinos. The casinos give them a rigged machine in an isolated space where they're guaranteed to win, and it's not real money. So they'll put money in. Again, conspiracy theory. The casino will say, we're going to preload a machine with $100,000. You're going to hit it until you win it. Then you're going to walk away. Nobody wins or loses any money. But on camera, it looks like they just won $1 million.
Exactly.
The truth is, I will say this. Of all these videos you see where even if it's real, they actually win these slots, it is not possible to win these big jackpots. This is absolutely a scam, and I agree with you on this one. So when you see a video of someone playing a high-limit slot machine, the reason why I believe these are rigged and it's a conspiracy is that the pay table for slots is the same no matter how much money you put in it. Let me put it this way. Think about how a slot machine, in Vegas, they have slots in 99% payout. They're outright telling you, if you put $100 in, we'll give you 99. You're hoping that you catch the machine in the middle where someone else already lost the $100 and you put in 10 and win their 99. That means if you put 20 grand in a machine, it literally cannot pay you out more than went into it. So what actually happens to these slots when you see these people, they're like, I'm going to bet $1,000 a spin. The pay table is the same if it's $5 or $1,000 bet. On the $1,000 bet, you win 1-to-1. That means if you get like 3 of a kind and it pays 1-to-1, you'll win $1,000. But when you hit a bonus, you still only win $200 because most slots aren't paying out on the actual slot itself. They're paying out on bonus structures that are capped to pay out between $1,000 and $3,000. Sometimes it's very rare they have the jackpots or whatever. So I agree with you on that. That I think is a conspiracy, the advertising of it. My point ultimately, though, before we go to chats, because we definitely have to, is that I don't look at a working class guy having a beer as a problem, but there are alcoholics. I don't look at someone buying a ho-ho and eating it with a nice glass of milk. Maybe they put some melted peanut butter on it. Oh, now you're getting fatty, man. That's kind of crazy. You're allowed to do it. I do have a problem with these food companies pumping their foods full of chemical garbage they know kills people. I do have a problem with casinos lying. If they are, again, I can't accuse anybody specifically of wrongdoing, but the presumption is they're faking these videos. The manipulation I have a problem with. If a person makes a choice, that's the person's choice. I think we agree, though. These are all cultural problems. If we had a functioning culture, people just we wouldn't have so many casinos. We'd have Atlantic City and Vegas, and that's it. Now, this is crazy. We got MGM. Maryland is building casinos like crazy. You've got MGM National Harbor. 40 minutes away, you got Maryland Live. 40 minutes away, you've got Horseshoe. 40 minutes away, you've got Hollywood Perryville. Then now they're talking about, I heard a rumor they want to open a casino in Virginia, just to the west of D.C., in Tyson's Corner. Times Square is going to have a Caesars. Downtown Chicago or on the river is going to have a Bally's. And it's just, is this late stage
You
capitalism?
don't need to go
People
that
just
far.
gamble?
It's all on your phone. You're really able to do that all from your phone ultimately as well, and it's nerve-wracking.
We got to go to Rumble Rants and Chats, my friends, so smash the like button, share the show. But before we do, we got a great sponsor. It is Bearskin Tactical. You guys have seen the Bearskin hoodie. You know about it. They look awesome, by the way. If you've been waiting to get yourself one, now is the time. It's officially hoodie season. Cold mornings, windy days, surprise snow, and right now Bearskin is running their biggest deal of the year, 60% off for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which is right now. You got to get it. It's built like a tank. 340 GSM Bearskin fleece, 10 pockets, rugged athletic fit. It looks great on you. Plus, if it starts pouring, you can zip on the heavy storm rain jacket, instantly level up to full waterproof protection. You'll get free U.S. shipping from their U.S. warehouse. The gear will last you season after season. Just text TIM to 36912 for your 60% off. Again, text the word TIM to 36912. Don't wait. Get it now while the deal is still live, because it's Cyber Monday. You got to do it now. But you'll also be supporting the Fallen Outdoors and Hope for the Warriors veterans programs. So you're not just buying great gear, you're backing a cause that matters. Shout out to Bearskin. Thanks for sponsoring the show. We're going to grab your rants and chats, but first, Shane's leaving.
I'm leaving. Thank you guys for having me. This was fun. Pleasure meeting you.
Oh, so good to meet you.
You guys can catch me at Inverted World Live on Rumble and YouTube, 10 o'clock. About 10 minutes. We're going to talk about trash coming to life out in the ocean. Then we'll take your phone calls till midnight. Looking forward to it. See you guys.
All right, see you, brother. Let's grab these chats. We've got Tonlock Alpha Dog. He says, Tim, is Mark Kelly going to call for the arrest of the officer that carried out the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki that Obama ordered? No, because they're hypocrites and liars, and their real intention is either as retards sleepwalking us into a civil war, or they're actually trying to factionalize the military. There's already talk about criminally investigating and charging anybody who investigates them for sedition if Democrats win back power. Let me just say you guys heard this, they arrested Trump's lawyers. Jenna Ellis pleads guilty, and then recently they dropped all the charges in Georgia. If Jenna Ellis just did not cave, charges would have been dropped. But this is what cowardice gets you, so. Shane H. Wilder says, Tim comes back from Thanksgiving and immediately says Civil War. It's good to have you back. My liver was going through withdrawals. You know what, man? I'm not wrong. I am not wrong. It's pretty scary now, actually, in public where regular people are saying Civil War.
Yep.
Over the break, I went to, I was at Arundel Mills. They got a big shopping mall, had some delicious food. I got a steak. And I was watching Bleach. You guys know the anime Bleach? I'm rewatching it because I was bored. And I'm sitting there, and there's regular people all around. And I'm hearing them talk about Civil War. Yep.
Wow.
I overhear these people talking politics and the issue of the sedition, Trump calling for the death of these people, and regular people. Now, to be honest, not everybody. A lot of people were just just doing nothing. I guess when you're at a steakhouse, it's people who are more likely to be running businesses or involved in politics in the D.C. area. But it's kind of freaking me out.
I mean, the idea of civil war, like people thinking it's going to be big factions lined up on different sides of a field. I think we've talked about that a bunch. That's not likely what it's going to be. It'll be people, carrying out attacks against their political rivals. It'll be the kind of stuff that you're seeing Antifa do in the Pacific Northwest. My
prediction is, let me say this. I've predicted that by around November, October of next year, we will have already seen another high-profile assassination or killing. I put that what did I say? It's like a single digit, but high.
Yeah.
There are a lot of variables. Imagine a fractal pattern, all these different directions. Which one is actually going to make it to the end? We don't know for sure, but it's becoming clearer the closer we get. So one of the proposed scenarios based on the information we have today would be ICE riot, National Guard deployed, fireworks or an explosion, National Guard ends up in a fight, someone shoots one of the protesters. Democrats come out and say the National Guard is now killing peaceful protesters.
Yep.
Says, we warned you, you must defy these orders. You then hear a statement from some officer saying, we will not be deployed following the killing by the National Guard of these protesters. You know, the California National Guard, or maybe it's Newsom coming out and saying, we will not allow our brave men and women in the California National Guard to be subject to these scenarios where they would be driven or ordered to shoot American citizens. Therefore, we are assuming command. We don't. And then he says something to the effect of, it is immaterial what the federal courts say. We have already spoken with our guard, and they do not want to be put in these situations, as these are illegal orders, and they will defy them, as is the law. Then Trump's going to have to send the Marines or declare insurrection. And this is how you get to that point where there's going to be factional conflict in the streets, shooting, ultimately military on military civil conflict.
Like a Kent State style thing that spurs this about.
Exactly.
You know, I'm surprised and commend how orderly ICE has been in their different operations around the country. You see in a lot of these videos, things have the potential to really get out of hand, but the professionalism of our law enforcement, I think, really needs to be commended.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Let's grab some more. Uh-oh, someone doesn't like Elaad.
No.
Janjin says, last week, Elaad the fraud. Elaad the fraud? Is that what you're trying to make it rhyme?
This guy thinks he's Trump or something.
Yawned at charges against Democrats, but lights up a cigar when Republicans resign. Elaad the fraud, go back to India.
Look, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is pathetic. She really stuck a middle finger up, not to Mike Johnson, but the Republican voters who put her in office. And I think you guys should draw your ire towards her. We have the slimmest majority right now in the House with Republicans. And what does Marjorie Taylor choose to do? Not wield power, which she's put in the position of power to do. No, she decides to really, instead of getting big and rising to the moment, she shies away and resigns from alleged threats. It's pathetic, frankly.
And,
Marjorie Taylor Greene is pathetic,
Okay.
and Americans deserve better in her.
Isn't Troy Nails also retiring?
And then his brother's allegedly taking the position. But yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Same thing with him.
But there's an incumbent advantage, so it's going to be tough. But a lot of people are dipping out. There's that one Democrat, I think, in Maine, who said because of the threats of violence, civil war risks, he's like, I'm out of this. I'm out of here. Yo, man.
Yeah.
Yup.
These guys have a lot of opportunities for them after they resign.
All right, let's see. Dark Pine says, per tradition, got home Sunday from the hospital with baby number 2 and
we
first
go.
son. Shout out to my wife, Elizabeth, on her VBAC.
Yeah.
Instagram at Dark Pines. Bravo! More babies. Babies are absolutely fantastic. Doing baby stuff, important baby work. My daughter has important baby work every day. She has to roll around and chew on things.
Yeah.
Chance Walls says, for the love of God, can someone bring up unusual whales reporting on MTG stock trades with Lockheed and Raytheon days before the Russia-Ukraine war? Listen, if you watched Alex Jones and you trusted him, you'd be rich. He said a war was going to happen at this point in this time, and if you went, okay, I should buy all the stocks now, you'd have made a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually based to invest in Lockheed Martin. So I don't know what the issue here is.
Actually, I don't think it's a great performer. Is it?
But again, I've said this before. Marjorie Taylor Greene was rich before getting into office, and that's actually true about most of these representatives. They're mostly rich going in. So especially with people complaining about these low salaries and whatnot, they don't go there for the salaries. They're already rich and what?
If you want to be down 15.6% investing in Lockheed's base,
Since when?
the past year,
Never mind.
Lockheed's down 15.6%.
Go with Palantir instead.
Palantir is big.
There we go. Palantir.
Yeah, Palantir stock is hot. Right now, it's down 0.5. In the past 5 days, it's up 6.3. In the past month, it's down 20%. That's bad.
Yeah, shout out Peter Thiel.
In the past 6 months, 26%. Year to date, it's up 122%.
I think co-founded by you too.
Crazy, bro. In 5 years, Palantir's up 602%.
Big money.
I still have that story where Ian bursted into my studio at the castle like Kramer, and he's like, "You got to buy Palantir stock," and it was at like $16. And I was like, "I've heard of that. I don't care about the Peter Thiel stuff." Man, I'd have made a lot of money if I just listened to Ian.
Can you believe that?
When Ian started screaming about graphene, like around the first time, I bought a bunch of stock in a company that produces graphene and made a lot of money off it. Up like 80 grand.
Hot take on Palantir. I believe they collaborate with ICE, so investing in them also makes you based.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Since their inception, Palantir is up 1,720%. Since their debut in 2020.
Since going
That's
public. you mean.
crazy, dude. Yo, that's really crazy. That's literally around the time Ian was like, "You got to invest in Palantir, dude. I'm reading about it." And I'm like,
What's his more recent hot stock tips?
This is literally, it's when we first moved to the castle. And I think it was a few months after this. So it might have been, at the time, I think it was at like $14. Yeah, it was like November. That's wild. Because I knew what Palantir was, and he was like, they're going to be in everything with like the NSA and the U.S. government. It's going to go crazy. And I was like, whatever. I'm not investing in these weird companies that work with the government, bro.
They've become like a top enemy of the left, and that's how you know you should support them.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
All right, we got enough time to grab a couple more. We got Acid Reflux saying, watching one of your earlier segments was really blackpilling, but then there's these stories coming out about more fraud, and it reminds me, short-term pain. Trump did say that. I'll wait a little longer before I turn tail. Yeah, my 4 p.m. on the Culture War podcast channel on Rumble and YouTube.com/Timcast was about. It was focused on the Democrats abandoning the working class, like we talked about, but I also reserved some for Donald Trump's failures. The H-1Bs and the Chinese visas. His aggregate polling is now minus 12. I don't care much for it because all the polls are insane. Like one says minus 28, one says minus 4. I'm like, what does that mean? But even Rasmussen has Trump minus 7. So the one thing we do know is that Trump has declined. And I think he's lost young people when he comes out and says, we need these visas. You need to assure the American people you are working on prices. But inflation is substantially worse than they're letting on. They've always lied about it. There's a viral video right now where a guy goes to Costco and like mayonnaise is double the price. Butter is double the price. He's like, year over year, they're telling us it's 5 to 7%. And he's like, bro, this is 100% on most of the goods. They'll get a metric because they're like, yes, but industrial products for factories is down. And you're like, the regular working class American wants to know why it's $700 a week for their groceries now.
Yeah.
But we're going to go to the members only uncensored portion of the show, my friend. So smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Make sure you join us at timcast.com to get in that Discord community. If you'd like to call in and ask us questions, you got to join. $10 a month and you're building strength through unity because diversity is a weakness. But don't forget, if you want to watch the uncensored portion of the show, that's Rumble Premium. Use promo code TIM10 and share the show with everyone you know. Jelly, do you want to shout anything out?
Like
Twitter following or handle?
Yes, please go follow my Twitter at HunnyBadgerMom. Also, I'm getting sued by Antifa, so I have a give and go for pepper spraying one of them in self-defense. That's going to cost me about $50,000 possibly.
Yikes.
That's at the top of my X page, so that'd be great.
Well, right on.
Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am Elaad Eliyahu, the White House correspondent here at Timcast. Also the Pentagon reporter as of today. I'm also applying for congressional media passes, so I'm hoping to bring you a lot more coverage, you guys a lot more coverage throughout D.C., and that gambling talk got me in the mood. Are we hitting up the casino after this, Tim?
On a Monday, it's a school night, bro.
That's how you know I'm a true degenerate. Anyway, Phil.
Right.
Oh, but you got to be here Friday. We got something. I can't announce just yet, but you got to be here Friday.
I think I saw you announce it on Twitter, but hey, maybe I'll...
I did not announce it on Twitter.
Okay.
Absolutely did not.
We're doing a special Shabbat episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm in.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. You can check us out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/TimcastIRL for the premium only uncensored show. We'll see you there in about 30 seconds.